Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Dimes, a college basketball podcast. I'm Matthew Brune, and joining me once again is Jamie Shaw. Jamie, we got a lot of games to talk about. I hope you're doing well, but honestly, I don't care at this point. We're talking basketball. too
I'll
too
tell
many
you what
games
it
to
is,
talk
man.
about.
It's awesome to see early season fireworks. It's awesome to see great games early in the season. No longer is it just buy games and everything. We have premier NCAA tournament type matchups in the middle of November, and that's just fantastic for the game.
Yeah, we jump right into a couple of these. We're gonna give our reactions to a few of them, and then we'll preview another great week ahead of us. I want to start with North Carolina, Kansas. That was a game on Friday. Obviously, we recorded last Friday. We gave some just predictions and what we thought we were going to see and everything like that. And I think largely it went about how we expected it to go. We expected the home crowd of North Carolina to play a factor. We expected Caleb Wilson to be awesome. We expected Henry Vassar to be impactful. And they were, especially in the second half, where North Carolina ends up taking down Kansas 87-74. I'll throw it to you. I mean, like I said, I think the second half was really, really impressive from this team, and it showed on both sides of the ball what they can be moving forward.
It was a different energy level. This UNC team really fed off the crowd of what it gave them in the second half, and they came out of halftime. And I'll tell you, obviously, we'll talk about, I'm sure, Darren Peterson and Caleb Wilson, and the fireworks were absolutely there. But I was very impressed with UNC's offense. I thought that they were able to run very, very good offense, very efficient. They shot 51.5% from the field for the day, consistently getting clean looks and working themselves into advantageous situations. On the floor. I think that was very good. At times in the past, the UNC offense has gotten a little bit clunky. It's been a little bit stalled at times and a lot of one-on-one stuff, but I thought the ball stayed hot in this game, and I thought they moved it around. And I thought they did a really good job turning defense into offense, and I really like the flow of what their offense looked like, especially in that second half when they were able to pull away from Kansas.
Yeah, 48-20 edge for North Carolina in points in the paint. Kansas 19 turnovers. Really, Darren Peterson was awesome again. 3 of 5 from 3, 8 of 14 from the field. But the questions that I had going into the year is like, all right, now in these tight games against against good teams, who's next in line? Who steps up? And Bryson Tiller hit some shots off the bench. They still Badunga obviously makes plays, but against a front line like North Carolina, you see some of the limitations potentially of Badunga in terms of self-creation and what he can do for himself. So, the questions for Kansas I had are still there, even albeit with them showing some depth and obviously having a 1A type player in Darren Peterson.
Yeah, when it came to Darren, kind of what you saw was when the ball early on, other people were stepping up. You had Bryson Tiller making shots. You had Trey White making plays and all that type of stuff. In the second half, you saw the ball in Darren Peterson's hands a lot, asked to make plays. And when Darren Peterson so far is not able to score the basketball, the decision making is kind of, it's hit or miss with him when it
The
comes
freshman
to.
on the road there. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. The decision making is not necessarily, 100% of the time when it comes to him with the ball in his hands. In the second half, he had the ball in his hands and was asked to create a lot. And UNC did a good job of cutting off his primary scoring ability. You saw him, trying to draw contact in the paint some. You saw some the second defender giving him trouble when it came to passing reads and all that stuff as well. And UNC was able to pull away, and Kansas just looked very disjointed a lot in the second half there as well. As you mentioned, Caleb Wilson, I thought was an insane, incredible impact on the game. Two-way guy. Defensively, he was all over the place, guarding all over the floor, 1 through 5, diving on the floor for loose balls. He was affecting the play on the defensive end of the floor while creating advantages on the offensive end of the floor. Him and Henry Vassar, their high-low game that they were able to do, both of them being in both spots, both on the block and at the high post, able to create offense, and it looked very good. They had really good chemistry together. Kyan Evans was great in the second half, I thought, for UNC, getting in the pick and roll, finding advantages there, both with his shooting ability and ability to set up his teammates. But the story of this game for me, Caleb Wilson was the best player on the floor. Caleb Wilson was awesome. Caleb Wilson was able to score the ball at multiple levels. His getting into the mid-range shot, the touch that he showed, getting to his spots, 2 dribbles left, 2 dribbles right, rising up over the guy 15 feet from the basket, knocking down shots consistently. The defense that he played, I thought Caleb Wilson was absolutely fantastic major impact that he had on this game. Henry Vassar is really good. Kyan Evans as well.
Yeah.
And this Kansas team, I'm going to be curious to see what they look like going forward. I think that UNC kind of showed the formulas they could disrupt them. Obviously, they have talent. Obviously, they have Bill Self. With those two things, a lot of positive can happen. But I'm very interested to see what this Kansas team looks like moving forward.
Yeah. Last thing before we move on here, Caleb Wilson had 4 steals and he drew 10 fouls in the game. Nobody else in this game drew more than 4. I mean, 10 is an absurd number. I was looking through the box score and I was like, oh my gosh, that is a number. All right, let's move on. Alabama. Go ahead.
He said that is a number.
That is, I don't know the last time I've seen someone draw 10 whole fouls unless they were a post player.
Yeah.
All right, Alabama St. John's. This was an incredible game, and it's for while football season's going on, I'm there. I'm watching this game, and I also was watching Indiana Penn State as Penn State almost pulled off that upset, and so, but this game was absolutely incredible. Madison Square Garden. We previewed it. And going into it, it was like, all right, whose pace is going to win? Alabama playing fast, St. John's playing slow. St. John's playing on the interior, Alabama obviously shooting threes. And it was a great game, so I don't want to act like it was a beatdown or anything. But in terms of style, that's how Alabama wants to play. And I think that was kind of the difference here is Alabama got to play their speed, got to shoot a bunch of threes, and the math kind of won out in the end in a 103-96 win for the Tide. A huge road win for them and obviously for the SEC as well.
Lots of players and storylines stepped up here. Obviously, 103-96 final. A lot of players were involved in the box score. The big takeaway for me for Alabama was Aiden Holloway and LeBaron Philon. I thought those two guards' ability to not only pull gravity with their shooting, but their ability to create offense off the bounce was very intriguing. While Aiden Holloway might not be getting all the way to the basket, his ability to create space for himself to knock down shots off the bounce, off a live dribble is very crafty. LeBaron Philon just has his handle it was on full display during this game, creating space, creating opportunities, getting into the paint, but also with the jump shot as well. Just a fantastic showing from both of those guys. That was the big takeaway for me from this Alabama team. I was also intrigued with what Latrell Wrightsell did.
Mm-hmm.
He was 4 of 8 from 3, knocked down some big shots. Amari Allen, a freshman to watch, 10 rebounds in the game. He had some very, very good minutes. And then the X factor of this team, how good this team could be. Obviously, you have LeBaron, who's going to make a run at the SEC Player of the Year. You have Aiden, all these other guys stepping up. The X factor for this team, Taylor Bowen, I thought had a really, really good showing, especially defensively, able to guard up and down the floor against that St. John's front court, who we'll talk about here in a minute. But he also scored 17 points. So I think Taylor Bowen, the X factor, but the big takeaway for me for this Alabama team was the advantages Holloway and Philon were consistently able to create.
I mean, it's incredible. They shot 81. They had 81 field goal attempts in this game. An incredible number. St. John's at 63. Alabama didn't even shoot that well. 11 of 35 from 3. Got to the line 22 times. St. John's got to the line 40. This was a great win for Nate Oates, and it further, instills that trust that we all have in him to be like, well, he loses players from last year. They still have Philon, they still have Holloway, they still have these dudes that can just shoot the ball and play fast and are extremely confident. Really, really fun team there. In terms of St. John's, I don't think it's a bad loss. Obviously at home kind of makes it like, damn, you wish you would have had that one. But Zuby Ejiofor is the player that we thought he was and knew he was going into the year. 27 and 10, fantastic game from him. In the second half, it was quieter. I thought Bama did a much better job on him and containing him. And I think Bama in general realized they're really St. John's doesn't want to shoot threes in most situations. And so they did a good job helping, digging, and kind of soft doubling Ejiofor there. So others had to step up. Bryce Hopkins had a good game, but beyond that, you get to Sellers hit a couple, big shots, but overall it wasn't a huge game from the rest of the roster.
Yeah, for St. John's, obviously the front court was the big takeaway. You have Zuby Ejiofor, who did exactly what we thought he would do. He was a force on the paint, and anytime you have that one guy on the block that can consistently find advantages, 27 and 10 from him, you have a chance within a game. And then I loved I really liked how Patino used Bryce Hopkins. He was initiating the ball a lot of times, ball in hand, pulled away from the basket, and kind of a little bit of a high-low type situation with him and Edgefor that was going together. Hopkins was consistently able to find advantages when they were able to get him in the half court. For me, the St. John's team just needs more out of their guards, not from the scoring aspect, because Sellers and Jackson were both able to get some, and I think Sannon will be able to get going eventually. But he said famously in the offseason, you don't have point guards anymore in the game. I feel like this St. John's team just really needed a point guard. They really needed somebody who's able to come in and settle things in and kind of collect everybody's thoughts together collectively. I'm going to be curious to see as to how that moves forward, because as I mentioned previously, a lot of their stuff was initiated by Bryce Hopkins. A lot of their stuff was atypical initiation when it comes to getting into their offense and getting to their sets and what they want to do. I'm going to be curious to see how that looks moving forward with this group, not having that point guard on the floor to kind of settle them in.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. One of my questions as well. All right, Michigan State, Alabama. The last game we'll dive into here from the weekend. This was an awesome game between two teams that I think are really good. Obviously, we had our questions of Michigan State going into the year when we did our Big Ten rankings. It's like, are they top 5? Where do they fall and stuff? And I don't want to overreact to one win at home against an Arkansas team that has a bunch of younger players on it, but it was good to see. It was good to see the Spartans attack the paint, obviously, which we knew they were going to do. We knew they were going to do with Carr, with Kohler, Fort. They're a really, really physical team, as you'd expect from Tom Izzo. This feels like an Izzo team when you watch it. It feels like a team that is old enough here to where they're experienced. They know how to win. They know how to create advantages on offense, and it's not going to be super flashy unless Carr goes and dunks on someone, which he does, but other than that, I mean, it's a really solid team, and I'm curious to see how it works out the rest of the year. But yeah, the front court was the difference. Michigan State's front court compared to Arkansas's front court. I thought Arkansas's bigs would hold up a little bit better.
The electricity in that arena was coming through the TV. I mean, yes. it was palpable. I bet that atmosphere, I couldn't imagine what it was like being in that building for that game. It looked electric. For me, the MVP of this game was Tom Izzo. I thought what he was able to do, how he was able to, I mean, they were 1 of 14 from 3 in this game, and yet Izzo was still able to draw up plays to consistently get open looks at the rim. They were consistently able to run variations of pick and rolls and strong side stuff and just back doors and overloading and whatever it was. He consistently had his finger on the pulse as to what would get an open look at the rim. And that was very interesting to watch as to how a team has no threat from the outside, yet is still consistently able to manufacture open looks at the rim. I thought Izzo was masterful in this game. I thought he really flexed his muscles as a coach in the stuff that he was able to call. Looking at the players on the floor, huge game from Cam Ward, the freshman, in there. He was the beneficiary of a lot of those open looks at the basket, made a lot of plays at the rim, and played a tough physical brand style of basketball. Cohen Carr had some very loud moments as well, especially early in the game, getting dunks and everything. His defensive presence is unreal, especially when you have a guy like Jackson Kohler on that side of the floor, who's a little bit heavy-footed on the defensive end. Cohen Carr kind of covers a lot of ground, making up for a lot of that. Carson Cooper's a good player. Jeremy Fears was able to get him into sets and everything too. So on this Michigan State team, they created and made advantages. Awesome job from Tom Izzo, and they executed. The players executed on the floor what the game plan was in front of them. And it was just a very, very good team win.
I'll tell you, we talk about point guards. I mean, Fears had 9 assists. The entire team for Arkansas, I mean, none of them had more than 4. Acuff ended up with 6. Let me take that back. Acuff ended up with 6. Real quick on the Arkansas, I mean, these guards are just awesome. It's going to be interesting to see how they round out this team and defensively, like we talked about, and the physicality and everything, whatever you want to talk about. But in terms of my belief in Richmond, Wagner, Acuff, Thomas, that group, and I know Thomas ended 5 of 15, Acuff 5 of 16, but that's a tough team to play if you're a freshman, if you're an underclassman, like most of them are, in terms of playing on the road against veterans. I still think they showed enough pop to where I'm like, okay, Arkansas is going to be able to score and have enough versatility in the backcourt to where I'm confident that they'll figure it out and they're going to be a much better team in January than they are right now.
Yeah, I'm going to be very interested in watching how Calipari sorts out or staggers the minutes when it comes to that backcourt. Still, it was the question that I had coming into the season with this Arkansas team, and it still remains the question. Watching this game through and through, the stuff seemed to run best when DJ Wagner had the ball in his hands during this game. And then in the first half, it was when Malik Thomas was off the ball. But the second half, they had the ball in Malik Thomas's and Darius Acuff's hands a lot, and there was a lot of questionable decisions that were made by those two with the ball in their hand and trying to run the offense. Obviously, freshmen, this is their second collegiate game, is a hostile environment, as we mentioned before. That it was palpable, the energy coming off of being on the road that they had at Michigan State there. But I'm going to be very interested to see how he staggers those minutes, because obviously the electricity that Acuff and Thomas both bring with to the floor, but things just seem to run smoothly when DJ Wagner had the ball in his hands. Also, Arkansas is going to need more from the front court.
Oh yeah, a lot
Between
more.
Pringle, Ewan, and Brazil, they combined for 13 points and 11 rebounds. The three of them combined. They just need more. They just need more. They got out physical. They didn't want it. Michigan State was able to establish their presence early and often in that game on the block. As we mentioned, they were able, despite shooting 1 of 14 from three and not being a threat at all from the 3-point line, Michigan State was still able to finish at the rim. Pringle, Brazil, and even with all that being said, even with the decision making of the guards, and even with the just lack of presence whatsoever at the rim, when it comes to their bigs, they were still in this game. It was still a 3-point game. They still had a chance to win it at the end. Calipari did a good job, despite whatever happened on the floor. Arkansas was still in this game to have a chance with it as well. It speaks to the talent and the upside of what this Arkansas team could have. This could be a team that, with the woes that they had, if their front court's able to put it together and they're able to figure out the backcourt stuff, the talent on this team is able to carry them, into a run and march. So I'm going to be eager to see kind of what it does when they put it together with this Arkansas team.
Yeah. All right. Let's wrap this up. Let's talk about some games to watch this week. Tonight's slate, we're recording this on Tuesday. This will be up on Tuesday. Tonight's slate, Kentucky at Louisville, Texas Tech at Illinois, and Creighton at Gonzaga. I think it's at Gonzaga. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But that's a terrific slate. And then you have Purdue at Alabama on Thursday. I guess you could pick which one of these are you most excited to see, or where do you want to start?
Well, we can just go down the line and talk about Kentucky, start Kentucky Louisville. Obviously, the in-state battle. It wasn't a particularly close game this past year. Kentucky, Jalen came back this past game. They're still without Jaden Quaintance, but this Kentucky team's deep. I'm going to be interested to see what it looks like. Louisville, if they're clicking, their offense can hum. They can create a lot of open looks. They play an advantageous analytic game when it comes to at the rim 2s and 3s. Versatile defensively when it comes to the front court, and very, very gifted offensively in the backcourt. I'm eager to see if Louisville can get stops. I'm eager to see what it looks like with the Michael Brown, Ryan Conwell, Adrian Woolley, Isaac McNeely. Can they get stops and keep dribble penetration away with this Kentucky team? And then I'm eager to see who steps up for this Kentucky team, what it looks like on the block. Malachi Moreno has been good so far. Colin Chandler has been good to start the season. Can Otega Owe put it together? He's been a little loose early in the season. Can he put it together for a big game here? I think Kentucky should win this game, but it wouldn't surprise me if this game is very high scoring.
Yeah, KenPom has a projected 84 to 83. So we're talking mid 80s is the projections for this. I think I look at these two teams on paper, and especially with the injuries and the players out for Kentucky right now, I look at them very similarly. I think what gives Kentucky in the big picture the upside is, like we talked about Jaden Quaintance, like some of the defensive upside that they have. Louisville's defense to me is just very, I don't want to say it's limited, but I need to see some guys step up in terms of getting stops. So with that being said, I look at this game very evenly. And I guess I'm just going to go with Louisville because they're home. We know the rivalry aspect. I know these schools are like 2 hours apart, but I just think the rivalry aspect of this is going to play a huge factor in terms of home court advantage, and I'm a sucker for home court advantage.
I
Football,
have no doubt
basketball.
in my mind that is going to be an electric atmosphere.
Um, Texas Tech at Illinois. This is an awesome game. Two teams that are awesome offensively to start the year, and obviously you have great front courts. You have Kai Boswell versus Christian Anderson. You got all these players. What are your thoughts on this game?
I'm intrigued by it as well. Reigning Big 12 Player of the Year with JT Toppin. I'm eager to see what he looks like against Illinois freshman David Merkovic. In the front court there, Christian Anderson, Kylan Boswell. You have Keaton Wagler, the freshman for Illinois, who started off very well. Donovan Atwell was awesome for Texas Tech this past game.
Yeah.
I like the pieces of this game. For me right now, I think Illinois, I wouldn't be surprised to see them end up with the win. But this Texas Tech team is so intriguing because you have the bookends. You have the JT Toppin on the block, and you have Christian Anderson on the one, and they very well could be the best players on every floor they walk on this year, which gives you a chance. If Donovan Atwell shooting like he is, Tyree shooting like he has as well, we'll see the rim protection that they're able to bring in at the 5. Mario Actoncock, I know, has had to play some minutes this season as well. Will they be able to have a third guy kind of step up consistently? We know the high octane offense that Illinois is going to bring. We haven't even mentioned Andrei Stojakovic as well. But they're going to be able to move the ball. They're going to be able to create advantages from multiple spots on the court. They're going to be able to shoot the ball with spacing. So it's going to be it should be a fun game. The fact that it's at Louisville, I think, the fact that it's at Illinois, I think Illinois got a little bit of an advantage in this one, would be who I would look at to win. But I think this could be it'll be a very telling game, for two teams that are ranked within the top 15.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the injury updates. I know Bamgoy's out. Watts is out, or at least questionable. So yeah, again, those two alone. I looked at the story from before the year started, and they said that 4 key players out or questionable. We'll see how they continue to monitor that. I think Illinois, at this point in the year, at home, gets this win, and obviously this is a Graham McCasland podcast since he came on the show. But unfortunately, I'm going to take Illinois to win this game. All right, Creighton Gonzaga. Quick thoughts, takes.
Yeah, Gonzaga. I mean, a contrasting game, much like we talked about with Alabama and St. John's. Gonzaga wants to get the ball down low. They want to let Braden Huff and Graham Ike get looks near the basket and the rim and create offense there. Creighton wants to spread the floor and shoot it. You have the Josh Dix and Jackson McAndrews and Blake Harpers and Nick Graves and so it's two kind of contrasting styles. I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to be interested in looking to see if Creighton can stop Gonzaga, if they can stop what they get going. And then you have the X factor of Tyron Grant Foster, who's able to just create offense from the wing consistently as well. So I think this Gonzaga team is really good. They were very impressive against Oklahoma the other night, which is a game that I thought could be a close game. They just blew the doors off of Oklahoma in that one. So I would give Gonzaga the advantage, especially it being at Gonzaga as well in this one. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Creighton put up a decent fight, and especially if they're making shots, give them a chance. But this Gonzaga team's pretty good.
Yeah, Gonzaga loves playing these non-conference home games, and I already beat Oklahoma. I expect them to beat Creighton as well. I don't think Creighton can stop them. Purdue Bama, last game we'll talk about. That's on Thursday night. It's in Tuscaloosa. Does Purdue get this thing going here, or are we rolling with the Tide?
Well, inject this Braden Smith versus LeBaron Philon matchup into my veins directly. It's going to be awesome. I mean, 2 of the 3 best point guards week 1 in the entire game. They get to go head-to-head in our early season matchup. Do you know the availability of Trey Kaufman-Renn?
That I do not know. Let me look it up, though, as you talk.
So that'll be an interesting factor. Right now, at Alabama, that place is going to be rocking. Alabama is very good. They, as we talked about earlier, they're able to hit you from multiple spots. Both of their guards are able to create advantages, and then Reitzel is able to pull gravity. Taylor Boboen, the X factor defensively. If Purdue is able to slow the game down and not allow, Alabama to get 70, 80 plus shots up, if they're able to slow it down, it'll be very interesting. They
So
want to play.
Kaufman Wren, he's missed the first 2 games for those who don't know. Painter kind of just basically said he's been going through stuff. It's not a long-term thing. It's kind of just really bothering him. It doesn't sound encouraging just in the article I just read. But I guess we'll have to wait to find out. It's probably a game time decision, probably depending on how he feels on Thursday. But yeah, that obviously swings things. It being at Alabama, I think Alabama coming off the win, I think Alabama has its identity right now. I'm going to take the Tide. It also, Alabama, as we know, has one of the toughest non-conference schedules. It starts this run of where they had St. John's, Purdue, Illinois, Gonzaga in a 4-game stretch in a row.
And I can see this game also being not particularly close as well. This Alabama team, just what they looked like the other night against St. John's. And then especially if Purdue does not have Trey Kaufman-Wren, who's a top 25 player in the game.
Yeah.
Now I'll just be interested to see as to how if Purdue's able to counterpunch.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. All right, there we go. That's all we got for y'all today. Hope y'all enjoyed the episode. Leave a like, comment, share, subscribe if you haven't already. We'll be back later this week, and we will talk to y'all then.